one is, what's the best form for each person in the stunt? Okay, so if we are talking about just a prep to right here level, and pregnant people stunting here. So the back spot's gonna go in, grab waist. Once they're in the stunt, they're gonna wanna grab ankles and drive up from there. The two sides are gonna wanna have their back straight here, just waiting for the feet to come in. Once they grab the feet, they shrug up with their shoulders to right here. And then the flyer is going to get in, and it's so important for her to keep her arms straight. And then she'll just push up, stay tight with her legs closer together. All right, so that's best form. Okay. What helps increase the momentum of a stunt? So there's important things that all people need to do. First thing is the back spot needs to make sure that she's grabbing going from hips to ankles. If she stays on ankles the whole time, she can only throw up to a certain amount, and the ankles let her go all the way to the top and settle it back down. The two bases, if they don't shrug up with their shoulders, the flyer never really becomes almost weightless feeling, and then to get to the top. So once they get her, they need to think shrug up, use their legs, and then bring it to here. If the top girl or flyer doesn't have her arms straight, and if she isn't in a position that looks like this when she gets into the stunt, it's not going to go up correctly either. So it's kind of all three of those combined to help the momentum of the stunt. Okay, what is it to make a stunt not successful? So there's so many different things that can make a stunt not successful. First of all, the flyer's positioning when she gets into the load position. If it's off or if she's leaning forward, that can mess it up. Also, if her butt is really far down, it's harder for the bases to pick her up. Same thing with the back spot. If she's just grabbing at the hips and never transfers to the ankles, she doesn't really have control of the stunt. If the flyer's legs are like this far apart, that can really hurt as well. So there's a bunch of different things that can mess it up. How do the bases provide a platform for the flyers to land in without falling through and hitting the ground? So when they go to cradle, there's two ways you can get down from a stunt. They can either sponge down back to a reload, or they can cradle. So if you sponge down, you're just gonna be here and you'll dip together, and it's important for the bases to always be watching each other so they can stay together when they dip. So if they just dip, bring it shrug up and bring her back down to here, then they let her off the back. Or if they're gonna choose to cradle, then they dip together, which is important, dip, extend to the top, and then catch. It's important that they catch as high as they possibly can and not to let it fall low, because if they catch it really low, there's a chance that the two bases can smack each other in the face, end up kissing, breaking a nose, whatever it is. And then it's important for the back spots to throw up and grab as high as they can right underneath the arms and catch her high. So the higher they catch her, the better. Top girls just are here and grasp, and it's important that they catch their own weight too. Like, they're not just there to be thrown around, they need to be carrying their own weight. What helps the flyer maintain their balance? So from the beginning, it's like I was saying earlier, the position that she's in the load, that she's here and not leaning forward. Because if she's leaning forward, immediately when they come up in the stunt, she's gonna be leaning forward. Same thing with leaning backwards. So she needs to keep a really straight platform with squeezing her core. Her core controls everything, and making sure her feet are about this far apart. Okay, because she controls how far her feet are, not the bases. Next question. What is the importance of a proper running start in power tumbling? So tumbling a lot of times is all about form, and that's what gains your momentum, doing the right types of form. And so if you're running all crazy or not with a proper form, it's just gonna hurt your running tumbling. Could you still do it with a crazy run? Yeah, but it's just not gonna be the momentum that you want. Next question. What's the importance of maintaining momentum throughout a tumbling pass? Well, the point of a tumbling pass is as you go, your momentum builds, and so you can do harder and harder tumbling or tricks and tumbling throughout it. If your momentum stops, then it's like you're just doing standing tumbling, and standing tumbling is harder than running tumbling. So it's important that you stay on your toes and you really rebound when you come out of each tumbling element, because that increases your momentum as you go. If you tumble real flat-footed and on your heels, it makes everything harder. And what's the importance of having knowledge of how to land a tumbling pass properly without injury? You could probably YouTube some consequences of, people that didn't have bad tech or didn't have good technique when they were tumbling. You need to know what you're doing in order to try. There's a progression that you need to know. You need to know round off, then round off, flip flop, then round off, flip flop, flip flop, and then adding the back tuck, and then adding the layout and going from there. So there are certain progressions that you have to take for safety, just to make sure that you know the correct technique.